He follows his block. He's in. Touchdown, North Dakota. Touchdown, Kaminsky. His second today. Kaminsky rolling out, and he throws to the corner. He's got a man pulled in. Touchdown, Tang Tang. Yes, sir. Touchdown, North Dakota. How about that?
UND Football 360.
Going deep. They've got something they like. It is caught deep downfield. B.J. Fleming, touchdown, North Dakota. Touchdown, North Dakota. 82-yard catch and run, and UND strikes first.
Analysis, commentary, news, and a look ahead. It's all things UND football. This is the UND Football 360 podcast.
Touchdown, North Dakota!
With your hosts, Kelly Howe and Tate McNamara.
Well, let's just say it wasn't a pretty one, but there's only one stat that really matters, and that's the one at on the scoreboard at the end of the game. And UND got their act together in the second half and pulled out a win. But what were you like at halftime, Kelly?
Well, wasn't worried because I knew, Murray State's on the other sideline, so I knew I wasn't really worried, but you're kind of hoping for a little more than that. You don't want to be down, 9-7 at half to Murray State. And yeah, it was a weird game, kind of a weird first half. Let's put it that way, because, the wind played into a factor, which we'll get into, but UND came out very well. The first drive, 10 plays, 91 yards, went right down the field, real smooth, connected with Fleming a few times. We're like, all right, hey, this is the offense we were watching the first 4 or 5 games of the year. Yeah. And then, I don't know, it slowly started to and defensively, the juice wasn't quite there as much either. Kind of fell asleep. Horrible second quarter. Didn't even score, 0 points. Normally we're a second quarter team. And yeah, so... But, tale of two halves, right, Tank?
That's how you finish, yeah. Fun week here. We're going to have the season finale coming up Saturday at the Alerus Center. Still $12 tickets out there?
Yep, $12 tickets. That's a hell of a deal, too.
That really is. And let's get out there. Let's fill the Alerus. This is a big game for UND. And how they win or lose could even play a factor in how they... the playoff implications.
If they
right?
win, we get we get treated to another home game. So yeah, we got to think about it that way. So yeah, I think definitely got to get the fan base out there and got to be ready to go, because South Dakota State's coming to town, and they're not. A lot of people are stomping on their grave here, but they're certainly not dead yet.
Yeah, never count them out. And just like we saw last Saturday, we thought that thing was going to be over with at halftime, and you right. Just never know. There are weeks. UNDfootball360.com. I heard that is a great website to go buy merchandise. And we have the, it's not just apparel, it's merchandise, yeah. And you can help out with the NIL. Jerry Kaminsky and Lance Rucker both have their designs, and then the JYD designs. Very cool. Very cool. So I haven't even ordered mine yet.
Tanklogo.com. I know my kid wears his little baby T-shirt to school, middle school. So he's wearing it.
Does he get the one without the sleeves?
No, we got sleeves. Yeah, sleeve monster.
I tell you what, if you go back to our old pictures, I'll have to find some. But Lance Rucker in a cut off, no sleeve shirt. Wow, big dude. Yeah, big dude. And then you look at his hands out there too, and those white gloves just looks like he's got paws when he brings those guys down. He's a machine. They're having a great year. So this is going to be a fun show, because Sam Herder is coming up, and we kind of have mixed emotions having Sam on, because that usually means we don't know what's going to happen in the final week of the season. But Sam will break down the FCF playoff scenarios, and then, a fellow brother of yours, Hall of Famer Jim Kleinsasser, will be with us today, and he's in a couple Hall of Fames.
Yeah, he's in a few of them.
He's going in the big one, the NFF Hall of Fame next month. So we'll have him on later in the show and catch up with Jim. And as many may not know, his son is on the roster now, so it'll be curious to see what Jim Kleinsasser, the parent, is like at UND football games. But let's just jump right into it. The Kelly Howe Agency game review. Hawks win 35-17, and just I'm glad that we rebounded in the second half, but this is not what I was looking for out of this team for a tune-up going into the last week, just to be honest, Kelly.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, coming off, the NDSU game and stuff, it's a little bit predictable, but not, you didn't want to be down 9-7.
But just
like I said,
the way the last couple weeks have gone, just it seems like our offense hasn't really gotten that mojo that it once had, and didn't feel like it was there in the first half again. No, it
wasn't. Like I said, the first drive was great. I mean, I thought it was back, and then second quarter, just kind of started sleepwalking out there again, and just no sense of urgency. The desire wasn't there, and I know we're at week 11 now, so that happens. But they got it at halftime. This is where Eric Schmitz gets paid the big money, because when you go in at halftime, you got to know how to handle that. Now, do you act accordingly to how they're acting? Do you act the opposite of how they're acting? I mean, as a head coach, you got to pick and choose your spots. You can't yell every week, right? Some weeks you got to come in and be the praiser. Hey, pat him on the back. Hey,
what would
no big deal.
What would Roger Thomas be like at halftime on a game like that? Would you see
calm?
Pretty calm.
Yeah, because hey,
come on,
we know. Yeah, we know we got it. Hey, didn't go well. Here's what we got to fix. Get with your position group. Let's split up. Don't worry about it. Let's go. Type of thing. That's not a game you yell at them at halftime. You just don't, because they can come out and play better, and the opponent can be had, so to speak. So you got to kind of understand these things.
And was it last week we were talking about pressing? So maybe if you get under them a little bit, they might go out and press a little harder.
Right. Yeah, and you don't want that, because they weren't. That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, the second quarter was pretty bad, but then they come out, third quarter, and here's where Murray made the mistake. The wind on the screen when you're watching the game the wind was going right to left, I believe. And the wind was crucial in this one. Let's put it that way. So any team going into it was struggling, and somehow the UND was going to get the ball first, but Murray took the wind in the fourth. Now let's think about this for a minute. Okay, so I mean, they didn't take the wind, is my point. They wanted it in the fourth, obviously, so they went that way. If you're up 9-7 at home in a windy day and you're the underdog, don't you try to keep it rolling with the win? I mean, keep that team down, keep that doubt in their mind. If UND had any doubt in their mind, you keep it there, right?
Yep.
I was surprised. They gave UND the win. Well, okay, let's go back to the box score. 14-0 UND in the third quarter. Complete domination, because Murray couldn't get anything going. What was it? What do I have here? Murray had 13 yards of offense in the third quarter.
I don't think the wind had anything to do with that, Kelly.
Well,
I think it was Eric Schmidt's halftime.
Well, it was a combination. Let's put it that way. But my point is, they should have went for the throat there and tried to get up by 10, up by 15, whatever, that type of thing. And yeah, UND just came out of the locker room, a completely different team, took over in the second half, outscored them 28-8, and took control of the game like we thought they were going to do. So it was good. It was good way to finish, good way to come back home. Now there's no doubt in their mind, right? Have a great week of practice, get ready to go. You know what you got coming up with South Dakota State. So yeah, it was a tale of two halves, we'll call it. But yeah, it was good. It was good to see them bounce back.
We did talk about the rushing attack last week and how we were going to go about that. And the notes here, Sawyer with 96 yards and Jerry with 79, but there's not a whole lot else to that. Yeah,
they ran the backups in a couple times, and just to spread it out a little bit. But yeah, kind of like we said, we're like, well, you're going to have to get creative, go downfield, but you got to run your guys. I know you don't want to get them hurt, but your guys are your guys, right? And as the game turned out, they needed them anyway. It's not like we were also projecting if they're up by 21 or 28, what do they do? That never happened. So, but yeah, they got going up front. Second half, the O-line really asserted itself. First half, Murray was playing hard. I was surprised. They 0-10 team. They had some juice and they had some life. And Jody Wright, he was giving them the high five arm cuffs coming off the field and stuff.
I mean, jump.
Yeah, they were pretty fired up. So credit to that staff. They were ready to go. But second half, UND O-line started getting after them.
Yeah, credit. Let's give credit to Seth Anderson. Second time this year he's been Missouri Valley Football Lineman of the Week. I believe the K-State game he earned that as well. Defensively, I know you took it to the conference a little bit. Johnny Wiltshire, I don't think he could have done much more, and probably should have got Player of the Week as well, huh?
Well, that's in one game. He had 3 weeks of production for most people, maybe 4 weeks. I mean, it was insane that the interception, that was a huge interception return for a touchdown, too. Completely changed the momentum. But yeah, 8 tackles, 2 TFLs, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and a pick 6 for 30 that he returned for 30 yards. That's one game. And he didn't win the Player of the Week. You know, it's like, holy cow. But yeah, he's Wiltshire. Remember we said earlier in the year, when he starts catching these balls, look out, because his UND defense is going to take it to another level.
Yeah.
Because he kept dropping them. You know, at K-State, he kept dropping them. A couple weeks later at home, he dropped one right over the middle. I'm like, oh, God, we're like, kind of yelling and laughing. But when we said, as soon as he's kind of dials in here, gets the hands going, he puts himself in great positions. He knows that nickel rover position very well, and he's playing it so good. I mean, it's unbelievable. You couldn't predict it, how well he's playing this thing. And now he's coming up with the catches. And, I mean, look out. I do got to make a point. These 3 safeties are playing well in this new defense.
Now, we do have to talk about the corner because I checked in with Coach Schmidt, and I said, I'll see you Saturday. By the way, if you need me at corner, I'm probably good for a couple plays, but that's it, yeah. Right? I don't have a lot in me, but what do you do when you get down to the last few?
Well, geez,
do you throw some guys from the offense
you're referencing,
or, you know, what do you do?
Well, I think they're okay, but Avery Scott, you know, hurt his ankle again, similar to Bluette. It wasn't like I wasn't sure if they were breaks like, you know, the tib fib where it just snaps in half. But it wasn't necessarily had more of a hairline along there, but It tears tendons, though, and everything else, I think. Now, I don't know what Avery Scott's was, but I think it's similar type of a thing where you're done. You're done for the year. Yeah. So, oh, boy. Yeah, they're getting thin out there, okay? But I don't know. You got, I mean, Nolan's played, so you got him, and now Bennett Walker's just got to play. I mean, he's got the turf toe, but he was out there now. He went in at Murray. And that's what we said. We wanted to see Bennett Walker play at Murray because he get the rust off before South Dakota State. So it actually worked out well that he was forced into action, and you know he was able to run out there. And apparently after the game he was fine. So that's a good sign. So he'll be back. But yeah, they're getting down there. They can't lose many more. I mean, Jai Martin would probably have to go over there and play corner. Then you're bringing in a safety. I mean, we got Erkman can come in at safety. If Jai Martin has to go play, you don't want to take Zach Lewis out of his role because he's got it down. He's good. And so, yeah, I don't know. I looked at the wide receiver room. I just don't think there's many DB bodies over there. You know, they seem like a pure wide receiver room. Sometimes you got the tweeners, you know, that jump back and forth, but I don't think there is any there. I mean, I guessed at it, but they're just this year, there isn't that type of thing. You're pretty much running guys, you're going to run out whoever you can and try to get after it. You know, it's just the way it goes. They don't have a choice anymore. So, yeah, it would be moving safeties. I'm sure it would be the next guess for them.
Let's before we wrap this up, let's talk about the receiver room. What are your thoughts on the receivers here the last few weeks?
Okay, they got to play better. I mean, we need more out of them. You know, they're
Jerry's been having some troubles finding guys, right?
Yeah, and I think some of that has to do with, you know, getting open.
Yeah.
Some of it has to do with protection. Yeah, we've had protection issues, so. And he's missed a few throws himself, but he's also made some too. So he played well. Last week was much better. The rhythm looked better and stuff. So that was good to see. Yeah, the receiver room can be okay. I think it's time. Feels like it. you kind of want them to dial back in. All right, all of a sudden, let's all get back. Let's run the stuff that we ran the first 4 weeks. And, you know what I mean, first 5 weeks, that stuff, when the receivers were open and the timing was on. I think we need to see a little more of that.
Do you think defenses have figured out this offense, though, a little more?
Oh, I'm sure there's been some scouting. Yeah. I mean, that's what they're paid to do. So, yeah, I'm sure tendencies, you know, they figured out things and brought pressure at the correct times and things. But, you know, our pressed us. You know, we have trouble getting open, so why not tighten up the coverage, go man, that type of thing. So, yeah, it's I don't know, it's an evolution here. They're going to have to keep bringing in, you know, more athletic bodies and keep bringing in talent. But, you know, mixing in Hoskins has helped just to change up the play calls. I like that when they do the little flare screens out to guys like him. That's good stuff. So, yeah, but what we've been missing lately that they hit a couple last week was the down the field passing, and they hit Fleming down the sideline. That was a nice play. But the posts haven't been there. Yeah, the deep stuff just hasn't been there lately. Maybe that has to do with opponent, but it's definitely different. I mean, it doesn't help your inside running game when the other team knows you're never throwing deep. So anyway, it was good. Hey, all in all, 35-17, they got out of there with a road win.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned this before we got into the game review, but good week in recruiting as well. We flipped a guy from Northern Illinois this week. Yeah, what the heck?
I got to go get that guy's Florida corner.
Yeah.
What the heck was his name again? I already forgot it. But it's isn't it DJ's brother? I think it's our coach's brother. See, I'm trying to figure that out.
You know everything.
I know.
Over here asking the questions.
I think it's his Christian. I think it's his brother, our running backs coach brother. But
for clarification, Kelly's on antibiotics. He's been out sick the last couple days, so
I got an excuse.
Slide, but it is fun to see names coming aboard still. On Twitter.
Christian Davis. Yeah, I think it might be DJ's brother, the coach, our running backs coach. So, yeah, Florida corner, 6'1", 185. That's what you want. Okay, that's what we need, and we need to dip into Florida every once in a while, maybe Georgia type of a thing, grab one or two, you know, defensive playmakers, a wide receiver, maybe a running back, you know, that type of thing, and that's it. You know, you don't have to just go shotgun approach down there. You know, you want to dial it in with the rifle and find the one, you know, that would be good for you. And yeah, he was already committed to Northern Illinois. So yeah, it's good flip. That was welcome because secondary is crucial. They need to keep recruiting secondary, especially portal. They got to get a few portal additions for next year.
The UND Football 360 pregame show is proudly presented by Rumors Sports Bar, Grand Forks' home for pregame hype, postgame breakdowns, and every big moment in between. Whether you're meeting up with the crew or catching the game on the big screen, Rumors is where UND fans rally. Cold drinks, good food, sharp takes, and the kind of UND energy you can't fake. Development Homes, Inc., gaming, simulcast horse racing, pull tabs, blackjack, and the pig wheel. Interstate Industrial, oilfield services. The 1883 Collective. Hey, we're still here. The 1883 Collective is a 100% volunteer organization. It exists to support student athletes at UND. Contributions to the collective help fund support for unique ways to get students involved in the community. Want to add some juice to the excitement of the football program right now? Dollars to the 1883 Collective are fuel on the fire as we work to recruit and retain top talent in our football program. They work closely with partners in the athletic department and the Alumni Association to ensure they're providing second-to-none opportunities for student athletes that choose to come and stay at UND. Go to 1883collective.com, click on the Get Involved tab to make your contribution today. It is our Development Homes Guest of the Week. We have two guests this week, so it's kind of fun. But from Hero Sports FCS Analyst Sam Herder, who's probably thinking it's like Christmas time with every scenario in play right now. But Sam, wondering before we talk FCS, do you know what the money line is for the Breckenridge game in the Prep Bowl?
Oh, I do not.
Yeah, is there a line on that game yet, or does that come out?
Probably
Friday.
not. I mean, high school is pretty tough, obviously. And all I know is Minnesota's pretty dang good. But I like my Breckenridge Cowboys to. I would guess Breck is maybe a touchdown underdog. In this one, just based off of what I'm hearing about Minnesota. But I like the Cowboys getting it done, pulling off the upset.
I saw on Twitter your dad's still coaching with them.
Yeah, he's been on the staff for 30-ish years or
wow.
so. So, yeah, I don't know how much longer he'll be on the coaching staff, but this possibly could be one last hurrah for him. So pretty cool moment for him.
Oh, good for him. Yeah, that's awesome. 30 years. Keeps him young, right? Because as
Oh,
soon
yeah.
as you
Yep.
quit, geez, like they said, like Joe Paterno, like it's, what happens to you? As soon as you quit, you kind of lose the juice, you want to stay in it. So good for him.
Yeah, not bad for our area. What Hillcrest Academy plays in the 9-man game, correct? Fergus Falls, and then Moorhead plays as well. Breckenridge, pretty good football in the area, right?
Yeah, it's exciting to see. And back when I played, my senior year was 2010. We went 10-0 before losing in the section championship, but we were 2A then, and now Breckenridge is 1A. And so a lot of these teams that Breck has been playing, I'm like, I don't really know a whole lot about these schools, but kind of is what it is with small towns.
Yeah, I played 9-man football at Hillsboro, and then wasn't long ago, Hillsboro and Shanley were playing HCV. I'm like, this is weird. Yeah, this shouldn't happen. But, hey, let's talk some FCS football. Good luck to your Cowboys, by the way, Sam. Is this a crazy year for you, or is it just one of those normal years where it's like this every year? Or give us your breakdown going into the last week of the season.
Yeah, I think this year in the FCS, I mean, you still have the usual suspects at the top, right? You have, NDSU, Montana State in the top three. That's usually been the case. Maybe, in past years you would substitute South Dakota State in there instead of Montana, or, maybe Montana bows out, 1 year. But it kind of seems like it's usually the top three, if not the top four, are filled with the usual suspects. And we're likely, just kind of how the bracket is shaping up, we're likely going to see a same look matchup in the national championship game with most likely NDSU, and then one of the Montana schools. It seems like it seems like both of those schools are going to have home field advantage. So I think, big picture wise, the FCS, it might kind of seem like same old as far as who the powers are, who's going to win it all of that. But it does seem like there is more parity in the second and third tier of the FCS, where you just look at the top 10, and some people might see Harvard and Tennessee Tech and Lehigh and Tarleton State and look at that as, well, the FCS must not be very good this year because look at all these teams in the top 10. And maybe that's true, or maybe just some of these teams are, elevating their play. It's like teams like UC Davis and Tarleton State are certainly investing a lot more in their football programs. And so I do think you're seeing maybe the second tier rise up a little bit, and there's more parity in that second tier. But it certainly still feels like there's, overall big picture wise, there's maybe a bit of a gap where we still see the usual suspects at the top of the FCS.
Yeah, the gap's always kind of been there. Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. And that's where UND was always in that, later tier. And that's kind of why we always had you on. I think we've had you on probably 6-7 times, Sam. And every time it's because UND's on the bubble. And they're 7-4, they're 6-4, 6-5, and every year it's we just kind of laugh about it. But
maybe we should start with UND. Let's just go there. The two scenarios: we win. What happens?
Yeah, winning in, for sure. If you're UND, you improve to 8-4. That would be your third ranked win, beating Youngstown State, Southern Illinois, who's still, hanging on by a thread in the top 25 rankings, but still the currently ranked team for the Salukis. And then obviously beating South Dakota State. So, you're 8-4. You have 3 ranked wins. The last I checked, UND's strength of schedule for Massey as far as year end is number 2 in the FCS. Plus, you couple in, losing tight ball games to Montana and NDSU and Kansas State. And I know we kind of laugh at the term quality losses, and sometimes I've changed that wording around to saying like quality performances in losses, because how you look in a loss, I do think kind of adds to your resume, or at least gives you a better ability to people evaluate you. Like UND losing a really close game to NDSU, that's different than South Dakota State losing to Indiana, right? Or Indiana State, excuse me. Like not all losses are created the same. So you couple 8 wins, really good strength of schedule, 3 ranked wins, and good performances in losses. To me, I think UND should be a top 16 seed. Getting into the top 8 kind of seems unrealistic at this point, but if you're in that 9 through 16 seed range, you're guaranteed to host a first round game. So you don't have to worry about, outbidding Weber State, but still not getting a home. You don't have to worry about any of those shenanigans. As long as you meet the minimum bid, you would host a first round game. And I feel like UND's resume should earn them a seed somewhere 11 to 16, 11 to 14, 15, somewhere around there, in my opinion.
Okay, so we'll talk about a little bit what needs to happen for UND to fall where if they win. But okay, I hate even saying this. What if we lose? What do you see happening?
Yeah, you're obviously still, or you're more nervous on Selection Sunday, right? Because you win, you have 8 wins, and you can't really say it's a guarantee because you never know. But for the most part, like you feel 95% good that the committee is going to give you an at-large bid. If you're 7-5. You kind of put the fate of your, the fate of it puts your destiny into the hands of the playoff committee, and they're going to match you up with, several other 8-win teams or 7-win teams, and all of a sudden you're this cluster of, it could be 10 teams battling for those last 4 spots, and UND could potentially get lost in the shuffle there and get left out. I do feel if UND were to lose and finish 7-5, I would probably put it at like a 60% chance that UND does get in, just because they would still have a good resume at 7-5 overall, 7-4 versus the FCS. You still have 2 ranked wins on your resume, which is more ranked wins than an 8-win William and Mary team, or it's 1 more ranked win than a 8-win New Hampshire team, for example. Plus, you still have that number 2 strength of schedule, and I do think strength of schedule plays a big part in how the committee views a team. And so even at 7 wins, again, you're pretty nervous on Selection Sunday, but those ranked wins, that strength of schedule, those close losses, I still feel more likely than not that UND would get in with 7 wins.
What do you think? I put out a tweet based on your bracketology 4.0 that you put out last night on Twitter, and everyone can find that up at Hero Sports FCS. I printed it out here. Very good stuff. But what do you think the hardest part, like, for the committee is when they're trying to differentiate? I mean, or is it hard? Or I'm kind of looking for your thoughts. Differentiating strength of schedule, let's say, between a 8-4 team in the Missouri Valley, a 7-5 team, and then you got your 9-2 teams in the CAA, or your 8-4 teams, down there versus a 7-5. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
How do you think they go about that? Does that come up and they say, okay, yeah, well, they also have their strength of schedule, or is it just kind of or do they have to dig real deep into the weeds here to come up with a difference between those 2 programs?
Yeah, I think when they get down to the last 4 teams in, they're really getting down to, the nitty gritty, and they have so many analytics that they can look at, a big spreadsheet. I don't know specifically what it looks at, but so many analytics in there as far as their strength of schedule and quality wins, and that's a big decision for them when you're talking about last 4 in, first 4 left out, because not only are you talking about job security for coaches and probably bonuses for coaches if they make the playoffs, but you're also, you're talking about, so, we have the power to either end some college careers for seniors, or we can extend them. And so it's not one of those things where they just kind of, lackadaisical, yeah, let's go with these 4 teams, like, whatever, it's good enough for us. Like, they really dig down, and try to find, who are the 4 best teams to get those last 4 spots out of a group of, 10, 12, 14 teams, whatever the case may be. It does seem like, in past years, strength of schedule gets brought up quite a bit. And we've seen that so many times where, a 7-win Valley team, heck, even a 6-win Valley team, I think one year, that may have been Northern Iowa, like a 6-win Valley team gets in, Meanwhile, like a 9-win McNeese team in 2017-18, somewhere around there, like gets left out because they didn't have a good strength of schedule and they didn't have any ranked wins. So I do feel like they put a lot of stock in ranked wins and in strength of schedule. The ranked wins is kind of goofy to explain because the media poll and the coaches poll isn't a part of their criteria, as far as like they don't use that as, okay, we're really hung up on these two teams, like everything is even. Okay, let's look at what the polls have them. Okay, the polls have this team 5 spots higher. Okay, we'll side with that team. They don't do that anymore. However, the polls still play into effect because these are all ADs, and they're obviously familiar with where the coaches have teams ranked and where the media has teams ranked, and how they count quality wins kind of differentiates. Some media members might look at ranked wins and kind of count them on their own. Of okay, this team has this many ranked wins. Other people might look at Massey's top 25 and be like, okay, how many Massey top 25 wins do they have? But it does seem like strength of schedule and quality wins kind of wins out over overall wins, where sometimes an 8-win team could be treated differently than a 10-win team.
Do regional matchups play a factor anymore?
A little bit, just not as much.
Okay.
Before it was very much regionalized when they were only seeding 8 teams, because then they would just take the 16 unseeded teams and then pair them up based off of regionalization, and then they would take those pods and match them up with teams in the second round where winner of UND Montana would get fed into South Dakota State, or something like that. Now it's still somewhat regionalized as far as seeds 9 through 16 get a host in the first round game, but then you take the other 8 teams who are unseeded, and then you pair those up based off of regionalization. And so in that sense, it still is regionalized for those matchups, but it's just you have less regionalized, options when you can pair these 8 teams up with these 8 teams rather than a big pool of 16 teams. And then obviously 16 feeds into 1 and 15 into 2. So the second round especially is much less regionalized than what it was in the past.
So do you think there is a chance, let's say UND wins this weekend, they go 8-4, you had them at the 13 seed, okay? So do you think they put, is there a chance that, they get seeded wherever they're supposed to be seeded, right, quote unquote? Or do you think there's a regional factor in there where, well, okay, yeah, right now we're going to seed them at 13, but geez, that's opposite Harvard. You know what I mean? Or someone way out east. And like, well, why don't we just put them at 14 and then they'll be opposite Montana State and, keep it a little more regional. Do you think that comes in at all this year, that type of thinking?
Yeah, unless things are changed from past years, how it's kind of set up with how they determine their top 16 seeds is it isn't necessarily like a group think thing. They obviously talk about it as a group and talk about who deserves to be where and all of that, but it comes down to a multi-tiered voting system where each committee member votes for their teams who they deserve to be ranked, and then it kind of spits out the voting total 1 through 8, and then 9 through 16 or 1 through 16, whatever the case may be. And unless it's changed, I'm pretty sure the playoff committee doesn't have the flexibility to move teams around where, let's say they have, Montana gets voted as the 2 seed, Montana State gets voted as the 3 seed. They don't have the ability to say, well, we don't want Montana State on the same side of the bracket, so let's just move Montana State to the 4 seed and Lehigh to the 3 seed. And same thing with what you're talking about. Okay, we have, UND ended up with the 13 seed based off the voting point totals, but that sends them, way out to the West Coast. Let's move them 1 spot. And then that way it'll send them into, Montana State because that's more regional. I don't believe they have that capability to do that, to move the seeds around, because then it's kind of a slippery slope there when you really start moving seeds around just to set up better matchups. Now, I believe this is still the case. The only time they would have the ability to adjust seeds is if there are, I want to say, more than 4 teams from one conference. And let's say 5 teams from the Valley all get seeds, and somehow, some way they get voted where all 5 are on one side of the bracket. Then they have the flexibility to move one of those teams to the opposite side of the bracket. But I believe, unless it's changed, that's the only time they can really adjust their seeds. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to.
I guess I'm still jaded from the Weber thing, Sam.
Yeah.
So I'm still think there's a huge conspiracy always going on. I'm that guy. Just you never know, right, Tank? Yeah.
I never put it in the committee's hands, and I think Schmitty and I were talking about that after the Bison game. I'm like, you know what? When you think you've seen it all, that's when you don't even guess because something's weird's going to happen.
Hey, speaking of seeds and bids, Sam, I guess I never thought about this part. The bidding process now, since 1 through 8 are off and they're going to get a home game, but 9 through 16 get the home game as long as they want it. Do they even bid, or do they just pay the minimum amount once they're awarded the game, or have to pay?
Yeah, you pretty much just have to meet the minimum bid, and you'll get that home game. Now they're still gonna, like, I don't think there are any examples of this, but if you're a program that gets the number 16 seed, but like your locker room renovations are going on and there's nowhere for or like your stadium has renovations, like in that case, like you wouldn't get a home game, just based off of not being able to host. And I think we saw that with Illinois State last year. They were a seeded team, I believe, but they weren't able to host because they had state playoffs going on. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about outbidding another team as long as you're the higher seed and you meet the minimum bid, you'll be able to host. You don't have to worry about outbidding another team.
That's pretty big hypothetical you gave out there that a locker room might not be know, for a playoff game.
I've never heard of a tent being up for a playoff game before.
Who would ever think of something like that?
Well, and that's why getting the seeded through 16 is so big because there was that lack of consistency where sometimes they'll talk about student athlete experience, and then another year they'll send UND out to Nichols and have to dress in tents, and then another time a team gets a home game because they submitted a higher bid, but then another time UND Weber State, they felt Weber was more deserving even though UND outbid Weber State. So there was that lack of consistency, and I think there was enough complaints where they said, okay, let's seed 16 teams, which does come with a higher cost because that usually means more flights. But last year with it being 16 seeds, I think there was a little less controversy in how teams were decided to host games.
Wouldn't they be losing money then? Like, since they're not bidding that first round anymore, where UND, I know they put it, what did they, 127,000 or whatever they bid when Weber got it for half that or whatever, whatever it was. But if it's all minimum bids, aren't they losing a lot of money in this scenario?
And that was why it was important for or kind of a long process for the FCS Oversight Committee and FCS commissioners to push this through because, not only is it more flights and more travel for the NCAA to pay for, but it's like you said, it's less bid money coming in. But when this was changed to 16 seeds, which was before last season, that was right when the NCAA struck a new TV deal with ESPN to broadcast the FCS playoffs and women's, NCAA basketball tournament and volleyball, like all those are clumped into one. And like before it was like $30 million a year, like very, very minimal. And now the new deal is like, I don't know how much, like $100 million a year or something like that. So long story short, the NCAA got a lot more money per year from ESPN to broadcast all of these postseason tournaments, including the FCS playoffs. So that certainly helped offset some of these costs.
Hypothetical for you. UND wins this weekend, goes to 8-4.
You're gonna steal my question.
South Dakota's 8-4. You got South Dakota 12, UND 13 in your bracketology 4.0. Do you think that's the way it'd play out?
Yeah, I think with that head-to-head result, obviously, I think USD, would probably get that nod one spot ahead of UND. Now, overall body of work, maybe you still lean UND, a little bit just because, USD has some questionable performances with their narrow win over Northern Colorado, their loss to Lamar. But, it seems like just with that head-to-head win, ending the year with, I think, 3 straight ranked victories for the Yotes, I feel like the USD would be at least one spot higher than UND.
Here's one for you as we get into the Valley. UND rolls South Dakota State on Saturday. How would you like to be a committee member figuring out what to do with South Dakota State?
Yeah, I think in that scenario, I think it's much easier if South Dakota State loses pretty handedly, because that gives the committee an even, one more reason to leave South Dakota State out if they lose in blowout fashion. Now, if they, let's say Chase Mason comes back, he plays well, he looks well, South Dakota State plays well, but UND was just a better football team, and UND wins by 7 points. And that's a different looking 7-5 South Dakota State team with Chase Mason coming back than a South Dakota State team that loses by 21 points with or without Chase Mason. But putting a team in that is 3-5 in conference play on a 5-game losing streak like that, it just doesn't seem right, honestly. And that's like I would say that about anyone. It's not jabbing at South Dakota State. It just seems like they wouldn't be deserving to get in at that point. Now, some committee members might look at overall body of work and say, well, we have some other 7-win teams in or right on the bubble, and South Dakota State has 7 wins, and they beat Montana State and they beat Youngstown State. Overall body of work, they deserve to be in. Other committee members might say, well, the last 5 weeks of the season, that was not the same team as the first 7 weeks, so we should leave them out. So yeah, a 7-5 South Dakota State team is going to be very, very nervous on Selection Sunday if they don't get a win this Saturday.
What are you hearing about Mason for Saturday?
Well,
it's Wednesday right now for those listening to the podcast.
Yeah, I know he's practicing. I know he's fully, he's full pads. He's practicing. I don't know how much, like, quote unquote live. He's obviously not taking any hits, but even you don't even want, like, I think he's maybe doing like 7-on-7, but even 11-on-11, like, you risk some fluke thing of the guard stepping on his foot and re-injuring it. So so like I don't know how much practicing he's doing as far as like live reps, but I know he's fully padded, and which is more than what he's done in past weeks. I don't know what the injury is. I think it could be a couple of different things. I think maybe he tweaked his ankle a little bit, but the more serious injury, it was somewhere in his foot. I don't know if it's a fracture. I don't know if it's turf toe. I don't know if it's something in his heel. I have no idea, but it just seems like it's something that is lingering. And I don't know if it's, one step forward, he pushes it a little bit, then it's 2 steps back where he kind of re-aggravates it. I have no idea. It seems since he's practicing now and fully padded, this is his best shot to play compared to previous weeks. But, again, I thought last week he had a decent chance to play and he didn't suit up. So, yeah, it's Chase Mason watch continues for whatever it is, the 5th straight week now.
Right. What are we thinking about the Ivy League being in this year? They only play 10 games, Sam. How do you think that's going to be treated? Since what do they start? September 20th, 15th, whatever, like the 3rd week of the year. I can't remember, something like that. They start, but it's always mid-September, kind of like an old D2 schedule. What are we thinking? How the Ivies are treated? I mean, granted, they get 1 in, we know that. But there's a scenario where they could get 2, I believe. And are they treated the same as the rest of the FCS, I guess, and resume wise?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that kind of conference reputation or team reputation goes a long way, right? Like a 7-win South Dakota State team is just going to move the needle more than a 7-win Nichols team, for example, whatever. But saying that because we'll see what the reputation is, of the Ivy League, because if Harvard beats Yale, then Harvard gets the auto bid. Yale would only have 7 wins. Probably wouldn't get in at that point. But then you have Dartmouth, and Dartmouth, if they beat Brown, they'd be 8-2, and they would have 2 wins over teams who are currently ranked. One of them is Yale, one of them is New Hampshire. Does the Ivy League have enough respect to get a second team in? Or for a bubble watch, if Yale beats Harvard, Yale is the auto bid, and Harvard, I think, would still probably get an at-large bid in that scenario because they would be 9-1. They're top 10 ranked right now. It seemed to be a pretty drastic fall for them to be top 10 to all the way out of the playoff bracket. And so, if you're a bubble team, you definitely want to see Harvard win this game because if Yale wins, then it could be a 2-bid league. Where Harvard stacks up in the top 8 seeds, we'll see. Like, playing 10 games isn't ideal, but I think it's more of how they schedule their non-conference because. I mean, if you go 10-0 in a 10-game season, that's maybe more impressive than hitting, 10 wins in a 12-game season. But they need to schedule tougher. I mean, if you're Harvard and you go 10-0, but your two non-conference games are against a bad CAA team, and then you beat the third place NEC team or the fourth place Patriot League team. That doesn't really give us a great gauge. And so I think the next step for the Ivy League is to schedule tougher non-conference games, add one more non-conference game in there as well, because that's going to help set them up for playoff seeds. And as we know, a big factor in how far you make it in the playoffs is where you're seated and how many home games you get.
What's your prediction for the Brawl of the Wild this weekend?
Yeah, I'm leaning Montana. I think I'm going with the Grizz. Montana State to me looks like the more consistent team. The Cats look like the more complete team when you look at them and you go, okay, their offensive line is good. Maybe not elite like in past years, but still good. Defense is really, really good for Montana State. Going back to the offense, I like the Cats and the balance they have now. Montana is more tricky because, when they haven't really been super consistent, but when they get going, like it's hard for anyone to stop them. And their defense can really live off of the home crowd and kind of feast off of that. Then the offense, when they get rolling, like I said, they really get rolling. Whether it's Ayat, if he gets hot, and then you have Gilman, you have Michael Wortham, you have Brooks Davis as well on the outside. So I just feel like Montana's the type of team where they're gonna kind of ride the waves of momentum here, use the home crowd, and carry that to a win over Montana State.
All right, man. You got your last $100 on you. How many teams did the Missouri Valley get in on Sunday?
I'm going to say 5. Southern Illinois, I think, is for sure out already. And so, NDSU is locked into the number 1 seed. I think Illinois State is probably already in. Youngstown State, should be in because they should beat Northern Iowa. South Dakota has a bye week this week, but they should be in as well with 8 wins. And so you have South Dakota, Youngstown State, Illinois State, and North Dakota State. I think those are four that are comfortably in. And then the winner of Jacks versus the Hawks, that the winner is for sure in right there. So there's your 5th team. That 6th team. If South Dakota State wins, then maybe you get 6 teams in because I think UND would have a really shot to get in. If UND wins, I like I said, I kind of have a hard time seeing South Dakota State getting in as that 6th team in. So I would say most likely 5, unless results go a different way in Grand Forks, then possibly 6.
All right, Sam. Last thing before we let you go. New guy in charge at UND. We're pretty biased on this show, so it's nice to have an outsider on. But give us your thoughts of, there's more season to go, but give us your thoughts of Eric Schmidt's first year at UND, what you've seen, and the recruiting class that they've put together, if they're able to keep it.
Yeah, I think, kind of just breathe some life into the program. And it's not like there was an overhaul, and talent where there's a bunch of transfers that came in, and there's definitely been some impact guys. I really like the 2 guys that came over from Northern Arizona, but for the most part, obviously a new starting quarterback as well, but he was already in the system with Jerry. But for the most part, kind of taking already the nucleus of the team, and then whatever it was with the kind of the off season kind of strength and conditioning and nutrition and just getting some new energy into the program, I think is what has made it most impressive because like I said, it hasn't been an overhaul in talent and personnel. It's kind of taking the guys that were already there, just elevating their overall play, getting them more explosive. And you saw that instantly too with the new coaching staff and the new success that they've started to have on the recruiting trail, and like that isn't necessarily going to play a role in 2025 season, but just having some kind of next level talent guys coming in the recruiting classes where you can build off of this breakout year already. I think that you really feel good about where this program is going into 2026 and 27, and beyond. And I had Coach Schmidt on my podcast I think it was over the summer, sometime during the off season, and you can just kind of tell a different vibe about it. And there's a difference between someone winning the quote unquote press conference and they're kind of they sound like a really good car salesman. And then there's a difference between that and someone who's just like super passionate and gets it and gives thoughtful answers. And I thought, Coach Schmidt was kind of the latter there where he was giving, he showed his passion, but he gave thoughtful answers, thorough answers. Wasn't just saying a bunch of, cliches that sometimes we hear coaches say. So I was impressed with that interview. I had UND preseason ranked despite not making the playoffs last year. Probably even exceeded expectations, even my own expectations. I think they played much better than even what I anticipated, even though I did have them preseason ranked.
It is our Development Homes guest of the week, and a name many UND fans may or may not recognize. What do you think, Kelly? Yeah.
Well,
one of the more recognizable?
judging by the reaction from the UND and NDSU crowd at the game when he was announced for the Hall of Fame, I would say most of North Dakota still remembers him quite well.
Yeah, well, why don't you introduce your former teammate?
Yeah, we are honored, folks, to have Jimmy Kleinsasser come on with us. Jim, we appreciate that. We haven't bothered you much over the years and stuff, and it was been great to run into you. I know you've been busy raising the boys out there down in Minneapolis, but it's great coming here on the show with us. We appreciate that.
Bringing a media guy in, we ran into you. I wasn't going to not hesitate and ask, hey, we want to come on, so we had to do it right away before you change your mind.
I'm kind of offended that Kelly hadn't asked me earlier, since you hadn't started this.
Been doing it for 12 years. I haven't asked you once. Wow, I didn't know. Yeah, hey, let's be honest now. There's been a few texts over the year that haven't been returned as well here. Right?
Yeah, my communication skills at times can be lacking.
Yeah, you were sleeping in those classes, huh? Yeah. Hey, we put this out on Twitter, and, we saw you at the Bison game, and always a big game when UND plays them, but there are a few people that want some of your Bison memories, and especially the catch. Let's just get that out of the way right away. I think it's a play many of us remember, but take us through what you remember on that play.
Well, I mean, it basically just was wide open, everything split. Greenwald just hit me right on stride, and it was kind of like, I mean, I would have to have been a complete moron to mess that one up because things opened up pretty good for me, and then it was just sprint down the field. Well,
the play call was good, kind of faked the bubble, and you guys ran the slants behind it. But what everybody remembers is, whatever, like Bob Babich said, that guy made a lot of money today or whatever. Everybody remembers you pulling away though. So yeah, the play call was good, but then let's be honest here. You pulled away and they weren't catching you.
Let's ask you, do you think that's the fastest you ran in a UND uniform?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that game was, it was a night game. We hardly ever had night games. And I remember that day of the game, getting up in the morning and actually getting a bunch of ice from the hotel ice machine and doing a cold tub in the hotel room. And my legs felt like amazing that night out there playing. So, I think all that kind of factored in, and, the hype, you're at the Fargo Dome, huge rivalry game. I think it was, the whole game was kind of like just a blur. We were, just in the thick of it all. We had, playing so well. And then once again, it's the Bison, so it just makes it that much more special.
So you guys,
the key to beating them is ice cubes in the bathtub before the game.
Cold tubs, baby. Cold tubs bring your legs back.
So apparently the offensive guys were doing cold tubs because we weren't doing that. I've never even considered sitting in a cold tub in my life. But then again, I didn't have as much muscle to calm down as you did. So it's like, God, that's funny.
I started doing cold tubs really, and it wasn't like, it was mostly like we started with the for pure acceleration in the off season, doing that training, and then you'd be sore and everything, and then it kind of introduced to it. But I had plantar fasciitis my junior year, so I really started that next year to really do a lot of cold, hot contrast for my foot, and then I realized like how much it helped my legs. And even coming into the NFL, I had Chris Walsh was my roommate as a rookie at training camp. So he kind of took me under his wing, and every practice he grabbed me and said, let's go. the cold tub. And after every training camp practice, we'd hop in the cold tub for 10, 15 minutes. And I mean, it was a unbelievable, like, lifesaver for your legs. I mean, I truly believe it's the way to go.
So when you came back out just refreshed? Is that what it was?
Oh yeah. It's amazing how, like, and who knows, maybe it's all in your head too, you know. But you know, any little edge that you can get, you know, you got to take it. But I just remember, you know, every time I'd come out of the cold tub and your legs are, you know, you barely feel them. And then you get in that shower and then that blood flow starts going through again and it just revitalizes. I mean, there were some times I'd be walking off of a training camp practice like, oh my gosh, kind of a half limp and, oh my God, my quad hurts, this hurts. You know, like my ankle is killing me. You'd hop in there and you come out and you would feel so good going to lunch and, you know, moving on to the rest of the day.
We should talk about that. It's a lot easier to do that at UND now than you guys played. The facilities, do they meet your approval, Jim?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a little different than, you know, I told a bunch of guys this, you know, like we would go lift at, you know, underneath Memorial Stadium and you had to line up for a tetanus shot every time before you went into it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a far cry from back in the day. Just amazing what, you know, the university's been able to put together. And yeah, it's crazy.
Well, as many people know, you know, your son Carter has gotten to go up there, and now you've kind of taken on a different role. You get to go up every home game you've been to, traveling up there. How did walk us through that? I guess as the process happened over the past winter, when you know, there's a transition in coaching, so I suppose you guys weren't real sure how it was going to get picked up again from Bubba to Schmitty, but just the feeling you had, I guess, when you kind of it started to come together, so to speak, I guess, and you sense, hey, there is a chance that my son gets to go to UND, play at the same school I played at. Kind of walk us through that a little bit. Well,
yeah, I mean, part of it is, part of me was kind of like, okay, like, does he want to be there and like maybe have to deal with like, okay, your big oaf of a dad is, you know, a part of things down there and kind of like, you know, feeling like you have to fill certain shoes and be a certain player. And that was my first concern was like, I didn't want him to feel like pressure on anything and like he had to be something. And, you know, talking to him through everything, he's like, you know, he goes, you know, he said he was proud of everything I did there and he wanted to go there and be him. And he was, you know, fine putting the work in and doing all that. So that kind of, you know, made me feel better. And, you know, just all the amazing people at UND, you know, it's just, you know, having the familiarity, you know, it kind of makes you feel so much better sending your boy off.
Right.
And, you know, knowing he's going to be in the hands of, you know, good men that are going to, you know, teach him the right way to do things. So,
how was it going for him up there at UND? He's been up now. He's a defensive end? Is it scout team stuff this year? Or how's the fall?
Oh yeah. He's on the look team and taking his bruises against that offensive line. So you know, it's pretty cool. I tell him all the time. You know, he talks about, you know, his practice, everything. I'm like, well, you know what? You're playing against, you know, some of the best out there. So, you know, take it in and use it.
Question from Twitter kind of relates to this here. Ask about how his son grew up and if he was around the pro game at all and when he was younger. And how involved were you in his development as a football player?
Well, you know, around the game, I mean, you know, I retired after the 2011 season. So Carter got to see probably a little more than, I mean, my youngest Caden, he has no clue of anything, but Carter went to the games, with the family and everything, and had some training camp experiences, and then so he's kind of had a little bit of a taste of it. But it's, at that age, it's kind of a different animal than thinking about it now. So I think my biggest thing was I tried to like make everything with my boys like normal, and like kind of keep that part like, hey, yeah, this is what I do or did now, but I wanted them to have kind of like as close of a like normal life as like I had. So, we kind of were just, they knew it, but it wasn't made like a huge giant deal. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, you'd have to probably ask Carter more of that, like how much he remembers of back in the day, but
Yeah.
even know if he remembers being to the games at that time.
No, I know you said you were coaching a little bit with Carter, right, at Mound.
Yeah, well, so my big deal was with I coached. See, I grew up and we played flag football, and then we hit pads 7th and 8th grade, and so when it came time, I'm like, there's like second, third graders, putting on pads. I'm like, I don't. There's no, I don't know if there's a need for that. And not to say, one way's right, one way's wrong. Just the way that I looked at it. So in his grade, when it was the 3rd or 4th grade, we started doing flag football, and we did flag football up until 7th grade, and then 7th grade they started pads, and so I took him for flag football up until then, and coached him in 8th grade, and then freshman I'm like, all right, I'm getting away. I'm like, let him be, because he was into it, and I just kind of wanted him to, I don't know. I think it's good for guys to get like, different coaching and kind of, so I kind of stepped away, and a lot of his stuff, like I wanted it to be his drive with everything, and I didn't want to push him either way. And I wanted him to kind of develop the love for the game. And so I just I stepped back after he became a freshman, and I was just dad.
It's funny you say that is because I coached Landon at, it's 5th, 6th, 7th grade. Yeah, like that's when he started in 5th was the pad football, and it was fun. And I think it was a junior year or something. I go, well, we were talking about playing corner or something like that. Or he's played corner. And I'm like, well, you got to do, you need a little more out of it. It's kind of a little pep talk, like, hey, get your rear in gear type of pep talk. And I go, if I don't see what I'm seeing, I'm going to call the coach and tell him I want to coach corners and safeties. And then I'm going to be there every day. So how's that sound? Okay, no, okay. He's like, okay, no. He did not want that, Jim. So I think we're coming for the same. I go, all right, well, get to work then.
We should ask that. We remember what you were like as a player, but what's like in high school? What was Jim Kleinsasser like as a dad watching his kid? What was a game like for you?
God, I was just in the thick. We had a good group of parents. And I was still coaching my youngest. So I coached then his flag football, and I coached his 7th and 8th grade, and then his freshman year last year I coached as well. So I was still kind of coaching, but I wasn't coaching like the varsity or coaching with Carter at all. So it was kind of cool. But last year I actually got to be on the sidelines because I was a freshman coach, and got to see the games on the sideline, and it's so much nicer when you're hearing the calls and you know what's going on and you're following the game. I mean, it's kind of like just back in the day, you're there watching the game, you're so into it, you know what's going on, and you can see things develop. So that was a pretty cool deal last year.
It was great to see you guys up at the game. Speaking of Caden, Krista, your wife, was there. I got to see her. I hadn't seen her for quite a while, and your other son, Caden, he looks like a big boy too. What's he project at in football?
Well, he didn't play this year in football, so
okay.
I'm still I got my light gloves on, still trying to like, coax him back in. I think we may be able to get him back into the game, and then hopefully next year, if not by his senior year. So, but yeah, he's a big kid. He's playing basketball right now. Plays baseball. He's really loves baseball. So,
good.
But yeah, he's pushing almost as tall as me now, and yeah.
What's funny? What's funny about that, Jim, is my son Hayden is in 6th grade, and he's 6. He just measured 6 foot the other day, 182. Okay, he's just huge, right? He's not interested in football either. No, I don't want to play. And we haven't pushed him or anything, but I'm like, how long are we going to wait here? I'm like, yeah. I'm just sensing O-line play, just moving guys, right? And I'm like, all right, I'll give it maybe, 1 more year, 2 more years before we kind of got a parallel thing going on here, I think.
It's tough, too, because, you're like, gosh, you know what the game gives you? You know what it develops in you. It's like all the like the suffering and the fighting with the boys, all that, like, I think it means so much to the boys and in their development. And it's like, gosh, it just, but then again, you don't want to be, pushing and forcing them to do anything, but you want them to kind of go into that and kind of take a little bit of that delayed gratification and putting some investment into something before you get anything back from it. And I mean, football is, it's just a life developer for boys and turning them into men.
Yeah, I would agree. Mm-hmm. I would agree that companionship, and you're only as good as the guy next to you. It teaches you a lot about life. But, Kelly talked about moving guys around, and you were known to do that. Big guys. You made it look easy at times. But how is your body feeling now at this stage of your life?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a lot softer now. Like, I took my transfer of assets, from muscle to fat over the last 13 years. So I'm softer, but like my joints and everything, I feel pretty fortunate. I really major things. I only had an ACL in 2004. So, I kind of lucked out on the injury bug, and hopefully everything keeps holding up.
Talk to us. Let's go back to the Vikings time. I know people, you don't talk about it as much, I don't think, just because maybe, you just don't want to. I don't know, just some people just don't want to talk about their time and that, and I don't, but we're going to ask you a few things about it, just because you played with such high-level players. I started to look back, and I came across a tweet the other day where someone replayed the intro of, your Monday Night Football where you guys introduce yourselves, and it was from 2009. And that team you guys had, my God, Jim, I'm like, I forgot about some of those guys who were on the team. I mean, granted, your 2000 team was probably very similar, I'm assuming, but or 2000, 2001, whatever one played the Giants that year. But we
won't talk about that game.
Yeah, we'll just stop
Never
there.
Happened. Never happened.
But it was Favre, and then AP, Sidney Rice, Randy Moss, Hutchison, Percy Harvin, Bryant McKinney, John Sullivan. I'm like, you're in there with Shanko. I'm like, what is going on here? No wonder you guys, won so many. I completely forgot about that. What do you guys think about? Like when you think back, what comes to your mind?
Well, that team, we should have been in the Super Bowl, and we should have Super Bowl rings. Mm-hmm. I mean, the New Orleans game was just and it's just tough because it was like it took like so much to get that team, like kind of like and especially for myself and some of the guys that have been playing for a while, I went to one NFC Championship game, and early on, and it's like, oh, this is going to happen, maybe every other year, hopefully, and then nothing ever comes around like that, and then you get that shot. It's just and then to lose in overtime like we did, it's just it that was tough. But that was like that was probably, I mean, hands down the most talented team that I'd ever been around.
Tell us a little bit about Favre. Is he what everybody thinks he is? I mean, is he just kind of the fun, have a good time, kick ass out there on the field guy?
Yeah. If you go to the encyclopedia and you look up starting quarterback, there'll be a picture of Brett Favre and the description of how he is. I mean, cracking jokes, everybody, loved to be around him, made it super fun. Just that, just the personality that he had with like his, not to sound corny or anything, but his just like joy of playing the game and doing it at the age he was doing it. He was just so much fun in the locker room, on the field. Like, he was a blast, and he was damn good.
Well, probably two of my biggest memories in the Metrodome were that year. I was on the 15-yard line when he hit Lewis in the end zone for game number 1 in the Dome as a Viking.
Yep.
I was working that game, and wow, that was just unbelievable, the electricity in that building, standing on the field. I'd never experienced that. And then driving down to the stadium, and you probably remember this, Jim, for that Packer Monday night game, it just had a completely different feel to it. I got there at like 2 p.m, and that building was rocking that night. You remember those two games?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the guy, was it San Francisco we were playing with that?
I think so.
Yeah. So G. Lou, like, he got in. He didn't even get in at the beginning of the week. I think it was like midweek we signed him. And Brett didn't even know his name. Like, he'd like he was like, wait, who got that? It was crazy. And just that throw, an unbelievable catch by Lewis. But like, that throw and doing it at that time, that was insane. I've always had a lot of respect for the Packer fans. They're a respectable group. My wife Krista would always try to make it down to the Lambeau games, and they were so unbelievably nice to her and took care of her before the games. Like she loved going there because their fans were so good. And whenever you go there, it would be like you knew it was going to be like they're all against you, but it was like you had to respect them, and it, like, even when we came in there with Brett and, you had the Fredo signs up and everything, it's like they were like half felt betrayed by him, but then the other half were like, they were just like, old, ex-lovers who still, had a little, glint in their eye for them. So, it was crazy to see, and it was great to, play out the way it did.
We had another Twitter question here for you. Talk about the running backs that you got to play for. I mean, you went from Robert Smith to Adrian Peterson. Was there anyone even in between, or was it just those two?
Well, we had a bunch of like really good backs. Yeah, Robert Smith, just a straight sprinter, just super smooth. And we had like Doug Chapman. We had the infamous Ontario Smith, who was a heck of a back. Really good player.
Did you ever see the Wizinator in person, or was that just
no? Fortunately, no.
No. Okay. Yeah.
But and when Adrian came, I mean, none of us had seen anything like that. He was just, I mean, I called him a cyborg because he was just like, I mean, he was just pure solid muscle and was, I mean, just running through guys. And he was a freak on the field. It was amazing just to watch him sometimes. And if you look at his near record setting year, it came right after he tore his ACL. And that tearing his ACL actually, I believe that year helped him when he came back, because it made him a little bit slower. So it actually gave him a little more time, because he was so fast and so explosive with everything that it kind of naturally gave him a little more time to like to see things play out, because he was such a get the ball, get downfield. I mean, there were countless times he would truck the back of one of our offensive linemen, like, just because he was so fast and so quick and so explosive, and then, make 6-8 yard play out of it. So I think, he was just an unbelievable freak. But there's another guy that, and I'm I wish he would have had, more time on the field in the NFL, but Percy Harvin. I mean, he was a receiver, a running back, and he could hit like Adrian, and he could get out there and run routes in space, run the slot, and catch the ball. I mean, he was unbelievable. Like, he was like an amazing athlete himself.
And his deal, was it migraines? Is that what kind of shortened him?
He had migraines, and then that just kept kind of always flaring up on him. And it's just a tough deal. And then when he went to Seattle, I don't even know what happened out there, but it was tough, because he was an unbelievable talent, one of the best I've ever seen.
What's other than, the guys in the locker room Sundays, what's like a perk about the NFL you miss?
Geez.
Paycheck?
Yeah, the paycheck was nice. Yeah.
Looking at the pay stub every other week would be nice. Yeah. I think, well, when you're playing, like, it's kind of crazy, because there's just so much that's kind of taking care of you or for you. So, you're never really worrying about a whole bunch of stuff. Because obviously, if you're fortunate, you have wife at home who's kind of holding everything down at home. And then when you're at the facility and traveling, like, you never have to worry about anything. Maybe that would probably be it. But like you said, like, really the main perk of the job is being in the locker room and hanging out with the guys. Because it's every day going in there, it was comedy hour. It was Comedy Central, just 24/7 when you're there. We'd always walk in and back at the old Winter Park and come in, and usually Dennis Ryan, the old trainer, he'd have, about 4 pots of coffee already ready to roll, and you'd take your pot of coffee and you might sit there for a while and shoot the crap with them, and maybe a couple other guys are sitting in there, and then you start ripping on each other as guys do, and it's like a comedy roast, like, all the time, and it's just hilarious. And so many fun memories, and being in the locker room, and you have such a crazy mix of guys that somehow all get along, like, perfectly, all nearly all the time, and it's all walks of life, and it's so cool. And part of that too is, like, you learn so much. Like, I came from a farm in North Dakota, and I had teammates that were from downtown Detroit, that were from LA, all over the place, and we're all just getting along just fine and having a blast together. I thought that was like the coolest part of it all.
You talk about the locker room. I used to enjoy Ben Lieber's podcast, and I listened to you talk about, was it your first training camp practice, and John Randall was getting ready for practice in front of the mirror, and you really were like, I got to go against this guy today?
Oh, yeah.
Was he putting like makeup on or something for training? Set the scene here. This is old Mankato too. So this is like even before they built their new basketball arena and locker room. So we were even in like the old school wooden bench down the middle, and then little tiny lockers on each side of the bench. Like that was our locker room at that time for training camp. And it was kind of like, there weren't a lot of people that were coming out when I came out, and there's these
sinks right there, and there's mirrors. And John Randall is putting his, face paint on, and he's yelling at himself, "I'm in the Matrix. I'm in the Matrix." Over and over again. And he's like laughing, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I doing here? Yeah, insane. And then I look, to my left, there's Chris Carter. Oh, there's Randy Moss over here, and oh my God, there's Randall Cunningham. It was unreal first year.
Does that wear off? Or like your rookie year, second year, you're still going, I can't believe who I'm lined up across from right now.
It's so funny because it's like probably that first week of being there, you kind of like, oh yeah, they're just like me, I think part of the whole deal is like, I always felt like, okay, I'm super lucky to be here, but like, everybody around me is like, in the same boat. Now I would sit there and like just marvel at some of these guys' abilities, watching Randy Moss, run a go route and just wait and let the ball slip over his shoulder pads into his hands that are like just barely sticking out from his stomach. Just some unbelievable stuff. I watched Chris Carter at Denver. It was either a Sunday or a Monday night, I can't remember, but I watched him near like horizontal or parallel to the ground with the tip of his toes inbounds with outstretched arms, snagging a ball. Just, unbelievable stuff. And that's the cool part. You just see like, holy cow, these guys are good. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. But as just the guys hanging out and talking, like you realize pretty quick, like, they're just like me. This is just like me hanging out with the guys, back at UND. It's just the same deal.
They're just louder than Kelly. But yeah,
Kelly was loud.
Yeah, you were pretty good too, and it shows because your name's hanging in the rafters at the Alerus Center, which is pretty cool, Jim. And you are officially going into the is it the NFF Hall of Fame? Is it National Football? Yeah. Next
National
month.
Football Foundation.
That's the big one. Yep.
And that's what's great about when you're done. You can enjoy these awards more than probably when you're playing because you're thinking about the next game. But tell us what this means, what that ovation, it was cool to see Bison fans up on their feet clapping for you when you got that award recently at the Alerus Center. Tell us what this means to you.
Well, it was a huge surprise. I thought, because you go on the ballot and, you're every year you don't get on, you just stay on the ballot. So I'm like, oh, I'll be on the ballot for the rest of my life. There's no way, I'm going in. And when I found out, it was kind of like, oh, okay. It's pretty amazing. A lot of stuff, it's kind of as when you're younger, maybe you don't quite like grasp on to what it all means. But, now that I'm older and out of the game a little longer, it means a lot. It's pretty cool to be recognized. But I've said this quite a few times, like, there's so many like amazing teammates, amazing coaches that I had. So I hope everybody that I played with, that coached me, kind of, takes in the fact that, they own a part of that award too.
Yep.
Yeah, I was able to have my high school football coach, Marty Holkalter, out on the field with me, and obviously Coach Roger Thomas out. Everything lined up perfectly for that to happen. But yeah, so I had Kelly, we had a blast. It was
Well, off the field was more memorable than on the field. I remember, Jim, there were times, honest to God, you wouldn't have noticed this, but we're out, right, doing our thing at night, and like some of us would be like, hey, we got to get Jim out of here. We got to get Jim. When you were older, we're like, he can't, we can get in trouble, he can't. All right, we said that to ourselves. We're like, he can't be around us right now. Get him out of here. This is only he's got too much in front of him, man. And that kind of ties into this thing, you know. And when I looked at it too, I mean, Saban's going in with you, right? And Strahan.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
good company.
But that's the thing too. Like what you just said, you know, it's really the whole journey of life, you know, and even like these accolades. It's like, it's all about the pursuit of relationships. And, you know, there have been a lot of times where I've probably have not been as tuned in to keeping up and staying in contact with everyone. But you know, you realize everything's just about developing relationships with people. You know, and part of the deal with college, you know, it's like the things that we cherish the most really were us hanging out and just being friends and spending time and kind of growing up with each other. That's what I want for my sons. You know, I want Carter to develop those relationships that I had and those memories, because in the end, that's really probably the most important thing that you can even hang on to is just the people that you took the ride with.
UND Football 360 is brought to you by TankLogo.com. Hey, it's your one-stop shop for promotional products, corporate apparel, signage, and print. Whether you're building a brand, outfitting a team, or making a statement, TankLogo.com takes care of you and your message from concept to delivery. Trusted by local teams, businesses, and anyone who wants to make their brand stand out. The Toasted Frog, whether it's the night before kickoff, post-game celebration, or just a solid date night, the Toasted Frog in Grand Forks delivers. From legendary fried pickles to craft cocktails and cozy vibes. It is the go-to spot for Fighting Hawk fans who know how to eat well. UND Football 360 is brought to you by Kelly Howe with Nodak Insurance. Trusted coverage from someone who knows North Dakota inside and out. Whether you're protecting your home, farm, or future, Kelly's got your back with personalized service and coverage you can count on when it matters most. It is that Toasted Frog trip around the valley. Toasted Frog, good place to go for post-game. After a nice UND win this Saturday. How's that sound, Kelly?
Downtown.
Are you buying?
Downtown Grand Forks.
Okay, I'll go.
We got a big budget here
at
360. No worries, Tank.
Yeah. Let's just kind of got speechless. I didn't know there was a budget. Northern Iowa loses to North Dakota State 48-16. That was a little closer in the first half, but NDSU pulls away. No surprises there. You see good things for Northern Iowa next year?
No. I don't know. It's going to take a while. I don't know what would change. I mean, that guy, he's got his work cut out for him. Now, if they get hot in the portal, maybe. But,
okay. Illinois State defeats South Dakota State 35-21.
That was the first 6 minutes of that game was a total disaster for South Dakota State. Oh, my gosh. Illinois State goes down, scores. I might get the order of operation wrong here, but Jack's punter drops it. So fumbles right at that spot. They get it, score. Jack's quarterback throws a swing pass. It's going to be a flare screen, and defensive end jumps it, picks it off, touchdown. Jack's kick returner fumbles the kick return right off his body. They lose it, touchdown. It was 35-0, I think. So it was 28-0 for quite a while, and then 35-0. They got up, and then the Illinois State pretty much shut it down. It became 35-21. But, yeah, that was, I mean, I don't know how you can start a game like that. I've never seen that before in my life, but everything went wrong. So expect everything to go right this week for the Jacks, put it that way.
Youngstown State, no surprises over Indiana State, 48-29. That's kind of your sleeper right now, right? That's the team you would not want to play, Kelly.
No, not with Brungard running around. Yeah, they were ahead most of the time. That was a pretty methodical win for them.
And then just a crazy one. Was it how many overtimes?
5, I think.
5 overtimes. Yep. South Dakota edges out Southern Illinois 53-51, and really a big game for both schools. Yeah.
South Dakota could have been out.
Did you watch any of that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I caught good part of the fourth quarter and all the overtimes.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a few, right away, the first 2 drives you score, and then I think the second one you have to go for 2, and then the third overtime you just do 2-point conversions. Just boom. You get 1 shot, they get 1 shot. You get 1 shot. Well, each team kept scoring, and the first 2 drives, Southern Illinois threw a fade into the corner of the end zone the first play. Touchdown. Well, then South Dakota comes right back down, and I think they actually had a 4th down where it was the game, and they came up with a nice little screen backside pass to the running back where he was wide open, and it was a nice play call. Pretty gutsy actually, but it was a good play call. So then they kept it alive, and then ended up just throwing a fade into the corner to win it. And they South Dakota, they were on life support. I mean, because the winner of that one was probably in, technically. Maybe.
South Dakota's bye, so they can't.
Yep.
They're done.
Yep. So they pretty much stamped their ticket in. Probably got like Sam Herder, is going to tell us a 12 or 13 seed from it.
He already told us.
Yep.
Just for those.
Yep.
Just for those that we pieced this show together a little bit. So. Yeah, that's already happened, Kelly.
What?
Scores come after the development.
We talked to
guest. We've already talked to him, yeah.
Okay.
Let's just jump right into the Rumors Sports Bar Grill and Casino. The 360 game preview, 1 o'clock, South Dakota State at the Alerus Center. I just looked up, and I got to have a little chat with Billy. Rumors doesn't open till 11 o'clock. That really makes it hard to get there for 1 o'clock kickoffs.
Yeah. Discussion may need to be had. Yep. 1 o'clock kickoffs. We've got to change things.
Can we do it at 9?
Yeah, 9 or 10. Yep.
That way, because our video guy is lazy and doesn't want to get over to the team walk, so I had to do that for the Bison game, but maybe we're kind of done with that so we can have a little pregame over at Rumors beforehand. But, get over there. Great place, and Billy's always a big UND football supporter. Just disregard that jersey on the wall, though, right?
Right.
Should be your number, right?
No, they don't have any. Don't have any of mine, but we'll leave 25 up on the wall. That's fine.
Yeah, good for another week.
Yeah,
see how it goes. But South Dakota State University, I think we all thought this game would play out a little differently at the beginning of the season.
Fair to say.
You didn't see this happening, Kelly, to South Dakota State?
No. Well, nobody knew what we were going to get with them, right?
We knew they would probably be down, right?
But then they beat Montana State on the road. We're like, okay, well, they reloaded. They're not going to be the exact same, but they're going to be pretty good, right? And they were off and on, and we mentioned their struggles, off and on, and when we did the trip around the valley, and they'd always pull out the win. But the last 4 weeks, it has been tough. It's been tough for them, and that NDSU game, I think, kind of took the wind out of their sails a little bit, and then they lose to Indiana State at home and really kind of got beat well in that one. And then this past week was kind of comedy of errors right away to where they couldn't catch up again. So I don't know. Yeah, it's this one's difficult to predict for sure.
We'll get into the offense and Chase Mason, their quarterback, whether he's going to play or not. Sam Herder said that he is hearing that he is practicing. And that will make a difference. But this defense is no slouch, right? I mean, we're just not going to roll up and down South Dakota State on Saturday.
No, they're still good on defense. Yep, 4-down defense, big D lineman, Claiborne, I think his kid name on the inside. Yeah, they're still tough up front. They kind of interesting. They play a little catch technique. Their D linemen aren't like in a 3-point where they're just teeing off. They're kind of waiting and read and react, and then they attack once they see the angle. And so it's a little different the way they play it up front. So that'll be definitely come into play with how we run our plays, whether inside outside type of stuff, and how we block them. But no, they're good. Yeah, the linebackers are good. Secondary's always aggressive, always a handsy aggressive secondary. Good players, length. They got length back there. Sure, they've lost guys. Yes, I mean a bunch went to Washington State. We're not saying that they're fully loaded, but they're still top 3 in most every category for the Missouri Valley. So yeah, no, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for UND. This is not like, they're a down team and we're just, this is the year we're going to roll them. No. They're still going to be a very formidable defense.
Yeah, you've mentioned the weeks we play NDSU, attack them, get their linebackers spread out. You said hit them on the outside. Where would you attack this defense this week?
Well, last week, I mean, watching, or rewatched that Illinois State game, they had success inside. A lot of success inside, not as much outside. I would say the passing game, downfield passing game, they hit some to Tomzak, or not Tomzak, I can't remember the other guy's name, their receiver out there, but they hit some downfield, but the inside game, they were getting big chunks inside. Okay. Well, now that's a scheme thing again. Once we got it, I'm sure UND saw that and was like, it's not rocket science. You can figure out how to block it and how they blocked it. So I think I would say inside. And then, if you want to take some chances, off the edge because of that, the way the D-line plays, you can seal them maybe a little easier. That's when you turn them in on the end. Yeah, maybe an outside zone instead of inside zone, that type of thing, just to see if you can get that. If it's not there, you can go back inside. But yeah, I don't see the I don't see the outside stuff being quite as easy this week. It just seems like it'd be more of a downfield passing game combined with a more of the inside running game is what I'm thinking.
Their offense, we mentioned their struggles without Chase Mason. Freshman quarterback Jack Henry has stepped in, 6'2", 215. He'll run a little bit, but still a freshman.
Right.
Alerus Center, tough place to play.
Yeah, big kid. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he's kind of South Dakota kid.
Let's talk about what do you like about their offense that you saw last week? Maybe last week was hard to get a read, but what you've seen of them.
Well, the receivers are good. They can make plays downfield. I like their receivers. It's the O-line's hurt, banged up a little bit. They lost some guys. They're not what they were. Obviously, they sent a couple guys to the NFL that one year. That O-line was crazy how good they were. They're not that. But they're, a top 5 O-line in the league, so they're going to try to lean on you because they're big. And so I don't.
Would you say our receivers or their receivers and our corners could be a matchup that we should be a little?
Yeah, downfield. Yeah, the downfield game because they're good. Yeah, they got good receivers. So that'll be. I think they're struggling to run the ball this year. I think their average per rush I saw is last in the league. But they're like 7th in rushing in the league total. Nobody's really, UND's number 1 in the league.
Yeah.
Against the rush. So I've noticed they did run Henry purposely, quarterback power, quarterback keeper, stuff like that. I don't know, that doesn't work as well against UND. So I just don't see him doing that very much. NDSU tried it a couple times and it didn't get a whole lot, with Peyton. So I'm sure they'll notice that, the way UND's aligned.
With how well our front four is played in the run defense, then do you think maybe we'll blitz more in this?
Well, yeah, you probably want to bring some pressure
if
you think they're going to throw.
Go downfield, that can disrupt everything, especially if we're a little weak on the back end. But then
UND,
you hate to get burnt on it, though, too.
Yeah. Well, the corners are still good. Our corners are still good, but we only got a couple left is the problem. So, no, I think we'll have to bring pressure just because we have to come into the game confident that we can stop the run based on what we've seen. Now, obviously, anything can happen week to week, but I would say it's defending the deep ball again is paramount in this one because if they're going to move the ball, they're going to get big chunks. I don't think this isn't a grind you out offense. I think they're going to have to try to move the ball downfield in big chunks. So it'd be interesting. It'd be a chess match for sure, but there's definitely opportunities for the UND defense to make plays in this one. It's certainly the secondary make plays downfield again, just like they have been, because the ball's going to have to be in the air. Hopefully UND gets a lead again. At home, typically they've got the lead every game. So hopefully they do it again this week, and then you make them a little more one-dimensional when they already couldn't run the ball very well. Now they're one-dimensional. Now your calls change up on defense. Then the secondary's mentality changes completely. So that's kind of the ideal scenario if you're UND.
Is this a week where Eric Schmidt's going, oh, yeah, as a defensive game planner? Or
Well, you're a little worried. Well, Chase Mason comes out there and was warming up in a full jersey. Then you're kind of, okay, well, he doesn't change anything with the game plan, but it changes your calls. Maybe a little bit. Well, if he trots out there with the first series, okay, let's just keep it vanilla. Let's see how he looks. Are they actually going to let him run? Okay, interesting. Okay, then you change up. They're ready. But then again, that Henry, he's not Chase Mason, but they run him. He's a good athlete. So it's similar overall offense, I would say.
Was it hard prepping for a week when you weren't really sure who was going to be under center on the other side of the ball?
I don't think so. I think you just kind of go with it. And I mean, they've played. It's week 12. They've faced so many types of quarterbacks. It's crazy already. So you just you have different calls, and the calls are already installed. He just won't call. He won't send in the ones that don't apply to that situation. Is all it is. You're just running the defense that you practiced all week, but all the calls are still there. So now I don't think it'll be any big deal. It's just if Mason would come back from that foot injury this week, he does add the dynamic. He has a bigger arm. He has a rocket arm, and if he can run, if he can come back and run, he's fast. He'll be one of the faster guys on the field. So yes, now you're kind of going back to, if you're a series or two into this thing and you're Eric Schmidt, you're like, okay, he's moving around and he looks good. You're kind of going back to those calls from you had versus NDSU and Cole Payton. You're going back to those looks like, hey, we might need to hang a safety on the backside, little spy look type of thing, and just have a guy around there. Have Rucker. Rucker would be the spy. He'll twist in off the end, but be in the middle of the field, ready to go left or right and chase him, that type of thing. So it'll be interesting. The first couple series of this game will definitely be a chess match, Tank.
Almost hate to do this because my picks have been I was so good earlier, and now it's just been kind of been like our team. Just haven't had that mojo from earlier in the year, but I think it all bounces back this week for me and the team. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go 35-21 UND. We're going to beat them just like Illinois State did last week.
UND likes scoring 35 this year, so that's a good pick. Well, with our kicking, you kind of want to go on even touchdown numbers, even sevens.
We'll be fine in that department.
I'm gonna go with UND. They can win this game. Like I said, I pick the only way I would, when I pick against them, it's because I can't find a path to a victory. I'm like, it's just going to be hard. I just don't know if they can win this one. This game, obviously, they can win this game. They're favored. I think I saw, what was the 9.5 point favorite at one time, UND was. So at home, Alerus Center, everything's on the line. They know they need to win. They got a kind of a wounded animal coming to town here. You never know quite what you're going to get. So that's the scary thing, because South Dakota State knows they need to win too. So do they pull out all the stops? I don't know.
Do they remember how to win?
Yeah, it's been 4 weeks.
Question to ask, right?
Yeah. So, they won a lot the last 3 or 4 years. I know that, but
those guys are gone.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 28-17 Hawks. Little lower scoring, but I think the defense can, hold them down. I think the offense, let's get downfield passing game. A lot of one-on-ones though. I want to see it come alive, but their DBs are good and they're handsy, so it might be more of an underneath game again, and just trying to find their rhythm. But I'm going 28-17 Hawks.
I like it. Let's fill the corners at $12 a ticket this weekend. You can't beat it, right? Bring the family out, get them some hot dogs, get them up on their feet on first down when we're on defense. Life will be good. Yeah. Selection show, what time? Sunday?
It's usually 11.
11
if I
o'clock?
recall correctly. Yep, it's usually 11.
Check your TV guide at home,
Yep.
and that'll let you know. A little throwback there, but yeah, get your butt out to the Alerus Center. Should be fun, and we'll talk to you next week.